the woodshed finished shortly before lockdown. It took about 2 weeks for the siding to come in after we ordered them. And while that was coming in, while we were waiting for it, you know, news about China, you know, shutting down cities and closing factories got me thinking, well, heck, that's where the solar panels are made and the charge controllers and all the inverters and all that stuff. So basically, while I was reading about people making, you know, hoarding toilet paper, I was making a mad dash to pick up solar panels and charge controllers and inverter and batteries. And it's like in the nick of time, the day before lockdown, we got our siding. And when we picked up the siding, we got bare bones basic plumbing for the cistern so we could hook up our gutter so we can get water as soon as it rains. And we got our solar panels hooked up with enough to run a refrigerator. Probably when we get that half full of water, we'll be able to run a clothes washing machine, I'll bet. And everything else we pretty much really need out of electricity. But instead of getting another place to live, we ended up moving in to the woodshed instead of putting wood. So there's the tent we're living out of. We got our little cooker stove in there, and kind of like, yeah, instead of wood, this is our home until the rules around here are only essential items. So we can go to the shop and get beer, but it's a little more difficult to get building equipment or tools, unfortunately. So we gotta wait a bit. And at first it really bummed me out because I'm thinking, heck, you know, we're trying to build a home. So you want people to stay home, but we're in the middle of creating one. We're gonna need tools to build one. And then I thought, well, actually, maybe, you know, the whole idea of self-sufficiency, you know, maybe we can get more creative and go a bit further with it. So I'll show you. So that's what we did. And yeah, I'll show you a few of the weird things that we've done, having fun with being forced to be self-sufficient. So one fun one is the handle for the shovel broke. We couldn't get a new one, so we used a little bit of a cedar tree to make another handle. Still has a little bit of green in it, which is cool. I'm not sure how long that'll last, but it's a good solid handle. So we're also hopefully at the end of a drought. So there's no fresh water anywhere we can't get except for from the river. And we still need rain. There's not enough rain since we hooked up that cistern. So we get water from the river and we get to pump it, and this is what we get to drink and cook until we get decent rain. We set up a little wild yeast starter for bread making, and I couldn't find a spoon. So we grabbed a little piece of manuka to stir it. Maybe it'll give it, you know, like around these parts, wild manuka for honey is a big deal, manuka honey. So maybe we're going to have manuka bread. So as you can see, there's a lot of grass around here. That's what this whole area is full of, beef farms and dairy farms, and the cows just love it. I reckon if you're a cow, this is one of the best areas in the world to live. Well, for us, this grass is more like compostable material for the worm farm in this bathtub, or down here. We can't get a line trimmer during the lockdown, so instead, we're lucky to have this to cut up the grass. My favorite is the mailbox. I call this the Corona mailbox because I would have rather used hinges here. Well, maybe not, but I was going to use hinges here and to hinge it, and then magnets here to keep it shut. But because of the lockdown, I couldn't buy hinges and couldn't get magnets. So to hold it shut, I made a little netting here with rocks, and that just keeps it shut. And then I tie some string on the bottom here, and that basically is, the hinge is just a string. Seems to work. They'll actually deliver mail here 2 days a week. One thing that I like about this design, the Corona mailbox, is the whole idea of, you know, this is just a couple fence posts. And, you know, other than the numbers, it's like compost. So we didn't create any extra garbage with magnets or hinges. And so I'd like to do that with a lot of the, you know, the theme of, you know, building on this little creation here is, instead of making things to last forever, maybe use some components that are more degrade easier, like this Hessen line here, and then if they need to be replaced once a year or so, that's all right. It's better than leaving behind like a bunch of plastic or a bunch of garbage that will last far longer than we will throughout our whole lives. So it's a little bit cleaner design. The Corona mailbox, maybe we'll put a planter up here.
So we're talking about the challenges of moving here in this time of lockdown. So I brought with me a lot of my garden from Auckland. I didn't really like the trip up, to be fair. It's a 4.5 hour drive, high winds, and so I have I arrived with a lot of burnt plants. Really needed to get them in the ground really quickly, and the soil, we are in the middle of a really massive drought up here, so the soil's pretty hard. We have no tools and so it's been a journey. I did bring with me 3 bags of compost and some mulch from home, and so we made some swales, and I've been making some gardens with what's around. So I'll just show you what I've been doing. So I'm sitting in one of the swales we've dug out. So this is soil making in action. So the priority was getting the plants that I brought up from Auckland into the ground. So here you can see this valerian is sitting in the compost that I brought from home. So it's just around, it's an area of compost, and then beside it I've created sort of a self-composting pile. The first layer consists of some mulch from the forest floor, then above that is some horse manure from the neighbours, which I've been going and grabbing ute loads of. And above that is this really yummy grass, it's grass clippings from council land that I picked up on my way to the supermarket. It's quite interesting. Also the other day someone had dropped a bale of hay off the back of their car, and it was there when I went to the supermarket, and it was still there when I came back, so now it's in the garden. So it's amazing what you find. Anyway, I'll take you over to the forest and I'll show you what I found there. Being a gardener, one thing I do actually very much enjoy is gathering material to make good soil. So the challenge was on. We don't have a mulcher, we don't have a weed eater, but we have a forest which has a lot of dry mulch on the ground. We've had a drought here over the summer, so the soil is pretty parched everywhere, but yeah, there is a fair amount of mulch lying around on the ground. So I went into the forest and had a look to see what I could find. It was great to explore, to see some of the amazing trees and the structure, and this is what I found. I'll show you. So it's an old puriri log. I'm not sure how long it's been there, but it looks very cool. It was covered in kaikatea fronds, which 12 sacks later they're now in the garden, and now I have a beautiful place to come and contemplate.